Okay, I'm going to go over how a bill becomes a law. And we'll add a little bit that won't be on the test, but then we'll also point out what will be on the test. In front of me right now, in front of you, is the Constitution. Article 1 is Congress, legislative branch. The beginning is about the House. The next one is about the Senate. Then some rules and all stuff about elections, about being paid. And then we have the part on Section 7 on how a bill becomes a law. Section 8, of course, is delegated or enumerated or expressed. All means the same thing. Powers, so what they can make laws about. So Section 8 is what they can make laws about. Section 7 is how you do it. So all bills for raising revenue, taxes, must start in the House, originate. But the Senate may propose or concur with amendments as on other bills. So they start in the House, but the Senate has to pass it as well. This is because no taxation without representation. Only the House originally was the elected body by the voters in the original Constitution. The Senate was not. It is now, of course, per the 17th Amendment. So hence the revenue part there. You do need to know that. Then we have this is it. This is all we've got for how a bill becomes a law. Passes the House, the Senate, and then presented to the president. If he approve it, he signs it. If he not, he returns it with his objections to the House, which it shall have originated, who shall enter the objections at large on their journal and proceed to reconsider it. If after consideration 2/3 of that House shall agree to pass the bill, it shall be sent together with the objections to the other House. 2/3. So that's how to override a veto. So sign it, veto it, override a veto. And then what happens, of course, if they are not present? There are some catches here. Keep going down here. If any bill shall not be returned by the president within 10 days, Sundays excepted, after it shall have been presented to him, it shall be law as if he signed it. So if they're waiting for the veto and he doesn't give them back a veto, it becomes law. However, if they adjourn, if Congress leaves after giving him the bill, it is, and he doesn't sign it, it becomes a pocket veto. This is a pocket veto right here. So it does not, a pocket veto, the difference between a pocket and a regular veto is a pocket veto cannot be overridden by 2/3. They have to start over again, or at least pass it on their own. It wouldn't be an actual overriding of a veto. So this primarily, the entire portion about how a bill becomes a law is what the president does after both the House and the Senate pass it. That's it. That's the Constitution. However, more has been added since. First, you need to know anyone can write a law or bill. A bill is a proposed law. Anyone can write it, and often it's lobbyists or interest groups. And they will write them with or for, because they for the congressperson, because they are more knowledgeable about the material. But, and they can do this for the Senate as well. This is the House, this is the Senate. They cannot introduce the bill in Congress officially. They have to find a member of the House or the Senate to introduce it for them. So anyone can write it, but only can be introduced by reps and senators. Then immediately it gets assigned to a committee. You should have looked up committees, some examples of committees in your WebQuest. There are plenty of them. Members of Congress are in them. This is, of course, not in the Constitution, but it's used because of how many bills there are and how much work they do now. From there, Most bills die. Actually, I'm going to use it on here. Most bills die in committee. They never leave committee, and you need to know that. It's the number one occurrence of a bill is what happens to it is it dies in committee. It goes to a committee and it's not talked about, not discussed. But let's say once in a while they do, and this is both House and Senate, they do consider it. And then again, most likely will still die, will be voted down, not talked about. But if they pass it, it passes out of committee, it goes to the House floor. And that's what we saw in video. The floor is where all of them are. And they debate through the whole group. There are a lot more rules to it, and a lot of voting procedures, which I'm not covering here. It is much more detailed. But they meet the floor, and then they debate it on the floor and might defeat it. Down here, same thing. The Senate, same thing. Now, the only thing to keep in mind with the Senate, I am not asking you about this on the test, but they do have a procedure called the filibuster, which means it can be blocked. The bill can be blocked by the Senate by a minority group of people, so the minority party. It needs to be ended with cloture vote. I'm not covering this. You're welcome to look it up. There will be there's potential talk about this. You'll see it in the media, and whether or not they should get rid of it. Because again, none of this is in the Constitution. This is their own rules. Now, if they both pass a bill and it's different, it has to be revised to be the same. Now, you learn in middle school that they go back and forth, they make a committee and they work on the same bill. That's actually not what's happening nowadays. They're doing what's called ping-ponging. They pass their version, send it over there. They pass their version, they send it back here. Also, what's happening in real life, in real terms right now, is they're not really, a lot of the bills, especially the ones that are get a lot of attention, are really being written by the leadership. And this is a big complaint by many members, that they don't see the bills, they don't see what they're signing or onto or what they're approving until right before it hits the floor to be passed. This is what many would consider a flaw with having too much power in the top leadership, the Speaker of the House and the Majority Leader. It's not really working. How a bill becomes a law is not really how it's working right now in modern times. I expect you to know that that the lobbyists can write it, but the reps have to introduce it. Most bills do die in committee, and that they have to pass the same bill to go to the president. They have to pass the same one. He doesn't get two different versions. Whether or not really this is working out the way that the video like Schoolhouse Rock tells you, that's not really true anymore, but you're not being tested on that. So if they pass a bill and they both pass a bill, majority bill is sent to the president, and there are 4 ways he can answer to that, respond, which I already covered. These 4 are in the Constitution, and you need to know that. Again, to repeat, what is in the Constitution? That the same bill has to pass, both the Senate and the House, and the 4 actions that can be taken by the president. You need to know that's what's in the Constitution. All the rest is created by rules. So again, he can sign to law. He can veto. If he vetoes it, signs a veto, they can override it. The House and the Senate can override it with 2/3 vote. However, if he doesn't give it back to them as a veto within 10 days, and Congress is in session waiting for that veto, it becomes law without his signature. If they leave, they go home, they adjourn, and he doesn't have to sign it, it just becomes a pocket veto, which means they cannot override it. Again, this is all 4 in the Constitution. This is to make sure that the president can't just sit on a bill and nothing happens. It forces either the Congress or the president It forces action if they were trying to not have action or avoid action.